Hello, beautiful children. It's so lovely to see you again in my mind's eye. We finished the first book of the Torah called Bereshit. Now we're going to go to the second book of the Torah. What's it called? You're shouting out. It's called Shemot. And as you may remember, the first parsha, the first sedra in that book of the Torah will have the same name. So what's the parsha called that we're going to do today? Can you shout out? Can you tell me what it's going to be called? It's going to be called Shemot. Are we ready to roll back the time? If only. Rolling back the time, and one more, rolling back the time, and one more, rolling back the time, and thinking and thinking and thinking. Now, I think most of the children won't be going to primary schools today. Some of the children who are key workers children or special children will be going. So for those of you that are not going, I hope you enjoy the parsha with me, and perhaps also your teachers in school will be giving you online learning, hopefully. Okay, right. So we're back in a country called Egypt, and there is a king, bit of a yucky king. Hope you can see my laminate. Vayokom melech chadash al Mitzrayim asher lo yadas Yosef. So the new pharaoh, the king, either he was a really new king, or he just didn't want to know Joseph anymore, because of course Joseph and all the brothers had died. So what sort of a king was he going to be? Again, he was a king that didn't want to know Joseph anymore. He didn't want to be well disposed, 2 syllables. He didn't want to be nice to the Jewish people anymore. He was a bit worried about them. Called his men over. Hava nischak malo. Let's be smarty pants with them. Let's outsmart these Jewish people. There are too many of them. They're having babies all over the place. There are far too many. And if somebody comes to invade, come into our country, maybe these Jewish people will side with the enemy and throw us out of our own land. Of course, the Jewish people weren't going to do anything like that. But when people want to be nasty to Jewish people, called anti-Semitism, when they want to be horrible to Jewish people, they make up all sorts of very, very silly things. But you don't need to worry, because we're all fine and happy with our mummies and daddies, and we're living in a country where hopefully we are fine. Okay, but back to Egypt. What was the plan? Well, hope you can see my laminate. The king of Egypt decides that he's going to tax the people. Taxes, something that we have to be a little bit careful about. I happen to know people who are tax inspectors, and they're very nice people, but as long as you pay your taxes, you have to pay things that you earn to help the government, so that we've all got nice schools and things like that. So, but Pharaoh gave them too much taxes, and he pushed the Jewish people into something called slavery. He made them slaves. They weren't free people anymore, and he tricked them into doing it. Haven't really got time for all the stories, SPS, some people say, aka also known as the Medrash, but he was quite crafty in the way that he tricked the Jewish people to come and work for him, work for your country. Vayeven are miskanos lepharaoh et pitom ve'et Ramses. So, vayamararu et chayem bavoda kasha. So the Jews built storehouses, Pitom and Ramses, these pyramid storehouses. And the Jews worked very, very hard. So here's a picture of a pyramid. There we go. Maybe that's one of the pyramids that we built. Who knows? But the work was very, very hard. Women had to do men's jobs. Men had to do all sorts of jobs. When the men had finished in the fields, they got sent somewhere else, and the Egyptians could get them to work for them anytime they wanted. So it was very, very hard. Okay, but then Pharaoh had an even nastier plan. Let's get rid of all the Jewish babies, he thought. Right, well, what can we do to get rid of the Jewish babies? So he called over his midwives, the Hebrew midwives, Shifra and Pua, aka, also known as Yocheved, who is going to be Moshe, the great leader, Yocheved's mummy, and Miriam, Yocheved's daughter and Moshe's sister. In Benhu, V'amtenoto ve'im bat hi v'chaya v'lo asu kasher diber eleim. He said, get rid of the boys. You can let the girls live, because they'll just marry into the Egyptians and it'll be fine. But get rid of the boys. Did Shifra and Puah listen to such a terrible thing from Pharaoh? Of course not. They didn't listen. Pictures of Shifra and Puah. And they helped the mummies, but they told Pharaoh when he called them back and said, what's going on? Why have you let all these babies come? Why haven't you listened to me? And they said, well, because they don't need midwives. They're like wild animals that can have babies all by themselves. They don't even need us. By the time we get there, the baby's out and there's nothing we can do, of course, at that point. So they were great, righteous women that they allowed all the Jewish children to survive without any issue. But then Pharaoh came up with an even more yucky idea. Okay, let's throw the boys in the river. What a terrible thing to do. I mean, we can throw pebbles in the river, but not boys. Anyway, moving on with our story. Yocheved has a baby in her tummy. Do you know the name of the baby? It's not Aharon, because he's the bigger brother. He's 6 years older than Moshe. And it's not Miriam, because she's 3 years older than Moshe. It's Moshe in Yocheved's tummy. And she's hiding him and hiding him and hiding him once he's born. And after 3 months, she can't hide him anymore. So what's the plan? The plan is to put baby Moshe into a special basket covered with tar, float him on the river Nile and see what happens. And what does happen? Vatered bas paro le'chotz v'tikacha. Who finds Moshe? Do you know? Have your teachers told you? The princess Batcha, the daughter of Pharaoh, finds Moshe and she pulls him out of the water. Ki mihamayim Mishisuhu, min hamayim mishisuhu. I pulled him out of the water, therefore I'm going to call him Moshe. And of course, she has to look for someone to feed Moshe. And it's amazing. Miriam's watching. Miriam comes up and says, actually, I know someone who could feed this baby for you. And Moshe gets fed by his mummy with his lovely mummy's milk for about 2 years in his home, and probably Yocheved even gets paid for it. But then Moshe has to be brought to the palace to live as an Egyptian royal. How incredible, crazy is that? The very child that King Pharaoh had wanted to get rid of is being brought up as a prince in his home. Right, well, Moshe grows up and he goes looking at what's going on with the Hebrew slaves. And he is very upset to see an Egyptian taskmaster beating a slave. Very nasty, terrible. You must never ever use your hands. You must only use your words, and you must use your words nicely. Vaya ish mitzri, makeh ish ivri, vayaches mitzri, vayitmenehu. Moshe looked this way and that. Was anybody looking? He got rid of the Egyptian. He killed him. He hid him in the sand. What's going to happen? Wow, that's really serious. Moshe, you might have got yourself into a bit of trouble there. And then Moshe goes back the next day to see what's going on. And he's not happy to see Hebrew slaves fighting amongst themselves. And he says, Lama sakerecha halargeni ata kasher haraktas hamitzri. What does this Jewish slave say when Moshe is telling them to stop fighting? Don't use your hands, only use your words. Are you going to kill me like you killed the Egyptian? Everybody knows what Moshe did. SPS, some people say, aka also known as the Midrash, that this was Dasan and Aviram who were fighting, who are going to cause so much trouble all the way through. But we'll hear more about them later. So Moshe sees Jewish people fighting. He says, no more fighting. They say, we know what you did to that Egyptian taskmaster. The game is up. Moshe has to run away because Pharaoh hears about it and wants to arrest him. Moshe runs away. And we could go off at a tangent and talk about all the exciting things that he did when he was away, but we're not going to. We're going to go straight to the fact that he goes to a place called Midian and he meets a beautiful, beautiful girl with beautiful, beautiful dark skin, I think one of 7 sisters, called Zipporah. ויגרשום איש מצרי הצילנו, ויתן את ציפורה ביתו למשה. Tzipporah has trouble at the well. She's a shepherdess, just like Rebecca was, and all the other people were shepherdesses. And so basically, Tzipporah runs back home to say, well, actually, Daddy, Yitro, although he's got lots of other names like Ruel, lots of other names, she goes back and he's a priest in Midian. And she says, well, actually, we did have trouble at the well, but this amazing Egyptian man, maybe Moshe should have told her that he was a Jewish Hebrew man. This Egyptian man saved us at the well so we could water our sheep. And Yitro says, well, what's he doing back there? Quickly go get him and invite him for a meal. And so beautiful Tzipporah, with her beautiful, beautiful dark skin, does exactly that. And guess what? They get married. And so we have Moshe and Tzipporah married. Vateled ben vatikra shmo Gershom. Moshe and Tzipporah have a baby boy. Moshe is a shepherd working for Yitro. And Gershom, I was a stranger, that's why he calls him Gershom. And we know that baby Eliezer is to follow, but first Gershom. Okay. And then Moshe's out and about doing his shepherding, and he sees a strange sight. What does he see? Can you see? The burning bush. Moshe sees a burning bush, but the bush is not being burnt. Even though he can see it, the bush is not being burnt. V'hinei hasner boer boesh. Moshe sees a burning bush and is told, take your shoes off. Ki admas kodesh hi, it's a holy land. This is going to be a very special place. We're going to have the Torah. Hashem tells him, return to Egypt. Really? Go back to Egypt? That's going to be a bit dangerous, isn't it, for Moshe? Is he going to go? Is he going to agree to go? So Moshe said, well, actually, I can't really talk very well. I've got a bit of a problem with a speech impediment. Right, why has Moshe got a speech impediment, stopping you from talking? SPS, some people say, when he was a baby and he was sitting on Paro's lap and there was burning coal and there was beautiful, beautiful jewels, and Paro was scared that maybe Moshe wanted to take over the kingship, and his silly wise men said, well, let's see what he goes for, the hot shining coal or the jewel. And of course, Moshe's not stupid. He was going to go for the jewel, but a malach, an angel, moved his hand onto the hot burning coal, and baby's, I put it straight in his mouth, and then he hurt his tongue, so he couldn't speak properly. Anyway, that's the story. SPS, some people say, aka, also known as the Medrash. But Moshe is told, I, Hashem, am the one who gives people the power of speech. Your brother Aharon is coming to meet you. He will help you. Sa'akat b'nei Yisrael ba'elai, eheyeh asher eheyeh, va'asafta eziknei b'nei Yisrael. You will say, Moshe, to the elders when they ask you, what is the name of the God that's brought you back? Eheyeh asher eheyeh, I will be who I will be. That's the sign that the elders, the Jewish elders, the slaves, they will know that you are the right man to come and do the job. You will convince the elders that you are truly sent by Hashem. You use my password, but in addition, I'm going to give you 3 signs. Sign 1, the stick. You throw the stick on the ground, it turns into a slippery snake. Sign 2, I hope you can see this, children. You put your hand across your chest, you will get the tzoras, the horrible, horrible skin disorder that comes when you talk Lashon Hara, but you will put your hand back on your chest and it will cure itself. And the third thing, a pail of water, you'll throw it on the ground and it will turn into blood. These are the signs that you will show the elders and they will believe you. And indeed, they will believe him. But before that happens, we have a little bit more drama, as if we haven't got enough drama in this week's Parsha. Okay, well, there is a mazel tov because Moshe is setting off with his 2 sons, Gershom and Eliezer, and his wife Tzipporah. But Moshe maybe thinks that because they're going on a big journey, they shouldn't give a Brit Milah to Eliezer. They'll do it when they get to Egypt. But an angel of Hashem is not happy about that, so he's about to take Moshe away. And Sipporah is quick thinking, and she quickly does the Brit for Eliezer. V'tikach Sipporah tzov v'tichroses arlat bana mazel tov. Eliezer is a lovely Jewish boy, and Moshe is let go of by the angel, and they can continue on their way to Egypt. Although, when they get there, Aharon tells Moshe, you really shouldn't be coming with your family now. This is not a safe environment for your wife and 2 children. Send them back, which we believe happens. And then Moshe, after all the story is over, will go back and retrieve his wife and children from Midian, where they are. Okay, so it's time to visit Paro. And it could be that this is even a newer Pharaoh, that the other one has died and this one has taken over and is absolutely resolute. There is no way that he is going to be a nice person. And Hashem has warned Moshe, I'm going to harden his heart. He's not going to let you go. But it's all for a good reason in the end. Vayomer Paro, mi Hashem. I don't know who your Hashem is. Et Yisrael la shalech. Why should I send the Israelites? They're my slaves. I'm not going to send them away for 3 days furlough to go into the desert and sacrifice their animals. Absolutely not. Then he says, Lo tosifun lases teven la'am lilbon halavenim. Guess what? You know how you need stubble on the double to make your bricks. I couldn't make bricks. Even if they gave me the bricks, I wouldn't know what to do with them. But they needed straw, stubble, to make the bricks. Guess what Pharaoh says to them? From now on, I'm not going to give you any more stubble on the double. You have to find your own stubble to make your own bricks, and I still want the same quota. I still want the same amount. I'm a meanie. Not a very nice man, it turns out, although this is a lovely picture. This isn't him, but it's a picture of what he could have looked like. So, meanie old Pharaoh has created quite a horrible situation for the Jewish people back in Egypt. What's going to happen? We'll have to tune in next week to find out. Listen to your mummies and daddies and do what they say. Listen to your mummies and daddies and don't forget to pray. Listen to your mummies and daddies, our rabbis lead the way. Then they will be happy. Don't worry, be happy. Enjoy your wonderful mummies and daddies and all the wonderful things they teach you. When it's safe to come back to shul, you will come back to shul, and I will see you when it is safe for me to see you. Bye for now.